So guys, welcome back to another episode of the MicroPilot. Today in this video we're going to be speaking to Chris, who is a FISO officer at Barton, and we're going to be going through some questions that you guys have sent in, and we're going to be generally talking about some of the more interesting points of his job as a flight information service officer, and potentially going through some things that you may find interesting. I'd like to just quickly point out that this video is sponsored by Poolies, just so you can get 5% off any flight equipment from their website by using my promo code, the MicroPilot. Yeah, but you get used to it. It's just a part of it. So guys, we've got Chris here.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you.
So obviously I introduced him at the start of the video, and he's sort of here to answer your questions a lot better than I ever can about the role of a FISO officer. Have you got any advice for anybody who's starting out, especially in terms of using the radio and things that could possibly help calm their nerves in terms of talking to people on the radio?
So that's a really good question actually. So we at Barton, we are predominantly a training airfield. So we've got 6 based flying schools that are based with us.
I didn't know there were 6.
To learn to fly. So the majority of the flights that we handle are people that are in those early stages of learning to fly. So what I'd recommend before you even step foot into the cockpit is just run through what you're going to be saying, because you know for a while that you're going to be asking for airfield information, taxiing, that sort of thing. So just run it through in your head, and you might not even be planning on flying that day. You just might have a bit of spare time, say you're in the car, say you're just at home. Run through what you're going to be saying to the person on the other end of the radio, and then expect what the reply might be, and just run through that two-way conversation just with yourself.
Yeah, and I think another thing, obviously you'll be taught this anyway, but the sort of your dictionary or your sort of golden book in terms of radio telephony is CAP 413. So apart from CAP 413 as well, the thing that I found really useful, and this is partly why I got into YouTube as well, is just watching people's videos. You know, you watch how people operate the radio. I know in some of my videos I try and leave as much as I can from startup to taking off and things like that. But just like I say, I found it really helpful just to watch people flying. And even though the video is not dedicated to the radio, you just see how they operate the radio as part of their flight. Now, this was an interesting question I had in from a viewer, and this was something I was thinking of as well. What is your biggest pet hate or bugbear that pilots do all the time that, say, could be something very simple?
So the biggest bugbear that I have is actually quite a funny one. So I don't like when people don't use the correct letters or numbers pronunciation. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So the phonetic alphabet is obviously there for a reason, and it works well for everyone. So why not just use the actual phonetic alphabet? Like, fair enough if you're learning.
But surely,
you're gonna get the odd letter wrong.
Are you going along?
Dr. Fox.
Okay, right. Are you saying people using the wrong words? So say using Tom instead of Tango, or...
So obviously, like I mentioned before, we're a training airfield, so
yeah,
the majority of the calls that are coming from students for the first time, you can sort of just put to one side. But for people that continuously use the wrong word, thinking they're cool...
I'm trying to think of it the opposite way around. I can't think of anything that controllers do or FISOs do that's annoying.
Well, if there are anything, write them in the comments and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're a controller, FISO, air ground operator or a pilot, and there's something that has either happened before or something that happens quite often that annoys you, let us know down below and we'll have a good laugh at that. Okay, so for example, an airfield like Barton, it's not like the size of Manchester where you've got airliners coming in and out all the time, but it's not some countryside airfield, you know, with 50 movements a year. You know, it's quite a busy airfield, so I think you fall quite nicely in the middle. But somewhere like Barton doesn't have, things like ILS and full-blown radar controllers and things like that. So does ADSB fall nicely in the realm of what's possible, in terms of adding safety and sort of a virtual radar to the control tower at Barton, if you see what I mean?
Okay. So at the moment, we are trialling as part of the ADSB trial for the Civil Aviation Authority. So the trial hasn't been completed yet. Every day we're filing reports to say how we're actually using the ADSB data to assist us in our job as a flight information service officer.
Yeah.
So there are various criteria that we're looking at. For instance, passing relevant traffic information to people as and when they're leaving the ATZ. For instance, if someone says they're departing northwestbound and we've got an aircraft in that vicinity, we'll just pass traffic information. Traffic believed to be operating in this particular location is assessable traffic, for instance.
Okay, but what's nice about that is that's a reliable source of information, though, isn't it? It's not like you're looking on Flight Radar 24, is it? To pass information. So
there are not necessarily inconsistencies with the data. We've tested that data, and the data is really quite reliable. And as far as we're concerned, it's not obviously going to be as reliable as SSR.
Yeah.
But that's why we're saying traffic believed to be operating in this particular location.
Yeah, and I think another thing there is once you've spotted that aircraft and you know where it is, you can keep that in mind, but also then look for other traffic. You've spotted him, you know what he's doing, you're keeping him in sight, but you can also then focus on all the other stuff you're trying to do. Instead of being given a rough area for an aircraft and spending a lot of time, like you've just said, generally looking for that aircraft, when you could have spotted him already and tried to crack on with whatever you're doing. So can you talk to us how you're trained to handle emergencies?
It's a really good question. So we simulate quite a few emergencies a year at Barton. So we'll go through getting the emergency services involved as well, not just our on-site, but the local authority as well. We also obviously work in the air as well. So as part of your basic service, we offer an alerting service as well. So if an aircraft is overdue, we'll then perform overdue action on that particular aircraft. And that goes through 30 minutes, 45 minutes and an hour. At different times, we'll do different things. So we'll start off just by talking around different airfields around the area, seeing if that particular aircraft is in contact with, say, London Information or Manchester or Wharton, right the way through to actually calling D&D, Distress and Diversion Cell, which is an RAF unit that will help try and find that aircraft.
And that's in Swanwick, isn't it?
It's based at Swanwick.
Yeah. Another thing I think to touch upon is sort of how... Well, two things. Were you sort of influenced to do this role as a FISO because you were kind of introduced to it by becoming a pilot yourself? And secondly, I presume it was easier to train as a FISO because you've got a pilot's licence.
So I'll answer the second question there first. It was a little bit easier because I've already got obviously the 2 exams already down, so I didn't have to study for meteorology or navigation. So that's a big chunk of the training that you don't need to do. But then there is another side to it as well, because when you're speaking on the radio as a FISO, your call sign is all in a different position as when you're in a pilot.
Yes, yeah.
So getting around that can be a little bit tricky, especially when you're flying in the morning and then you're into work in the afternoon. At Barton, there's about a 50-50 split between pilots and non-pilots in terms of FISOs.
Okay.
And everyone seems to have done really well with the training. Obviously, we help and assist everyone the same way, whether they've learned to fly or they've not learned to fly already, making sure obviously everyone's at that same level. It's really interesting. It's great fun. I recommend it to anyone that is, say, a pilot or interested in becoming a flight information service officer. Just get yourself down to the local tower. Bring some biscuits with you. We always like biscuits. And we'll let you sit around and just have a listening to the frequency with us for about half an hour, just so you can understand what's actually happening.
Awesome. So I think an interesting point to touch upon from there is how is it easier for you to then step up to, say, become a air traffic controller, or I've just sort of going from a helicopter PPL to an aeroplane PPL, have you sort of got to start the flying all again, if you see what I mean? The training.
So at the moment, there isn't a progression to go from an air ground operator, FISO, all the way through to an APCO.
Okay.
There just isn't a progression structure, unfortunately, at the moment. Maybe that's something they can bring in the future, because I think that'd be really interesting if they were to do such a thing.
Yeah.
But at the moment, there are two main ways to go through to become an APCO. You can either self-fund it and go through a company like Global ATS, and it's a residential course, and it's over a period of, I think, 18 months to actually qualify as an APCO from zero experience right the way through to being able to manage radar or tower. The other way to go through it is to go through to NATS as a trainee controller, and they'll take you through all the training right from zero to hero to be able to actually control an airport like Manchester.
I think an interesting insight into that was on the programme that was on, I think, a couple of years ago, The Skies Above Britain. I think they showed a really interesting look into that role and sort of the students going from nothing to controllers, so which was really cool. And
you see the majority of them actually don't go through that GA background, so the majority of controllers don't actually have that background in GA, which I think lots of pilots don't actually appreciate sometimes. The majority of people that sit behind the control desk don't actually know firsthand what it's like to fly an aircraft, which is why I find it quite interesting when we speak to flyers like myself, when we know what it's like to be in the cockpit. So in certain situations, we're not going to bother you. For instance, if you're doing a PFL from the overhead, practice full standard, I'm not going to start speaking to you because you're going to be quite busy.
So if I'm correct, Spartan's got an ATIS, hasn't it?
So yeah, we do have an ATIS. It's not on a frequency. So the majority of ATIS around the globe are going to be on a dedicated frequency that you can tune up in your aircraft. We're a little bit different. So we don't have it on a frequency. We have it on our website. So pilots can, once they're in the pre-flight brief, before they get into their aircraft, or even whilst they're in the aircraft on their phone, go onto our dedicated ATIS page on the website and have a look through all the information. You've got the designator, information alpha, and all the weather information, runway in use, wind, that sort of thing, all the pressure settings, and any relevant information about the runways in use, taxiways that might be closed as well.
Okay, yeah.
So when pilots can call upon their initial call on the ground with information alpha, QH1001, request taxi. Because we've already got the aircraft information. It reduces the amount of calls that we have to then go backwards and forwards. So if you call up with information on the pressure setting, it reduces the calls by about 20 to 30 seconds worth of airtime.
So what sort of separates the heliport? So I'm thinking from a helicopter point of view. What separates the heliport and using that from using the airfield? So for example, I come in my Cadbury G2. You, just off the fact that I'm a helicopter, I presume you're not sending me to the heliport. I'm going to land next to the pumps at the airfield, if you see what I mean. So
I absolutely see what you mean. So we're going through a change at the moment, so a rebranding stage that eventually, at some point in the not too distant future, rotary helicopters, be it a Cadbury G2, I think,
G2,
or a Augusta 169, you're going to be landing at the heliport. There'll be fuel available for you, get A1, avgas, whatever you want. There'll be dedicated handling, agents available should you need handling. You'll be able to get all the way through the VIP terminal out into a waiting car within a minute.
Yeah, and I think all this sort of goes towards the heliport being more of a commercial executive sort of facility. Oh, my camera's just died on me. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything we needed to talk about. Chris, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thanks for inviting me over.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's a shame that we couldn't do this by having Chris with us on camera, but it's we're making do with what we can at the moment. We'll be having Chris back in other videos again in the future.
See you soon.
See you again. So I hope you found the video interesting. It was great to speak to Chris and listen to some of the points that he had to mention. I will be making another video with Chris in the near future. But for now, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like because it does help the channel. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel to see more videos like this and some flying content as well to come in the future. But apart from that, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.